Hello Lone Wolves, how are you doing? First of all, thank you Rex for supporting me on Patreon. Thank you JP Wardner for supporting me on Patreon. And thank you Steven for your generous PayPal donation. Steven added a few questions to his donation. These questions are really food for thought, so I decided to make a video based on them. His main question is MGTOW a longing for permanence in an impermanent world? Before we go on, here is a message from my sponsor. If you dream about early retirement and packing your bags for a one-way trip to Asia, I've got some good news for you. Author and MGTOW Luca Venditti has written a book about how to achieve early financial independence and leave the West. He managed to retire on $200K in Asia and is happy to share how he did it. His book will cover in detail the high-yield deposit accounts available and how to capitalize on them for a guaranteed monthly passive income that grows with inflation, an extremely detailed budget breakdown, and much more. The book is called MGTOW's Guide to Retiring on $200K in Southeast Asia. And you can purchase it on MGTOWbooks.com. It comes in 4 formats: PDF, Mobi for Kindle, EPUB and text-to-speech. Use the promo code WOLF for an extra 10% off. So Steven asked me if MGTOW is a longing for permanence in an impermanent world. He gives the following examples. 1. The love of a woman. 2. Children. 3. Family. 4. A home. 5. A job/career. 6. Financial independence. And 7. Status. Then he asks if these are not transient in nature and if this longing is combined with living in a time of plenty, creating entitled men. Men who believe they deserve these things. And has this entitlement destroyed our ability to develop resilience? I just want to say, great questions, Steven. I don't think I can give definitive answers to these questions, but I can tell you what I think. Moreover, these questions struck a chord with me because I've been thinking about these themes a lot. I got this moment of clarity when I saw a video by content creator Happy Humble Hermit, who told very openly about his sex doll and his relationship with a real woman, and said that for him, the real woman resembles impermanence and the doll resembles permanence. I thought this was profound. Looking at the popularity of sex dolls, it seems that a group of men in the MGTOW sphere are indeed looking for permanence, or, to give it a bit of a negative charge, something they can completely control. The things you've mentioned, like the woman, the family, money, status, these things are beyond our control. The Stoics were very clear about that. Epictetus said that we should focus on the things that are in our control and have a contempt, not hatred, for things that are not in our control. The love of a woman can fade and will fade. If not in her lifetime, then because of death. Children can die. They can leave you, turn against you. Like women, they are autonomous human beings that you will never control. You can't stop your son, for example, for becoming a homosexual. If that's what he is, that's what he is. The same goes for material things. They can all disappear at the snap of a finger. I don't think it's wrong to have these things, but it's important to remember that everything is in flux and that tomorrow you can lose it all. If you embrace that fact, it will completely alter the way you look at the world and the way you approach the world. Like philosopher Alan Watts used to say, nobody wants full control. Because if you have full control over the future, it's already the past. Because if you know what's going to happen, it's already happened. Also, when you fully control a woman, for example, what are you going to do with her? It might be fun for a while, but doesn't it get absolutely boring if the woman you control has no will of her own? I think that impermanence is what makes life interesting in the first place. The problem that many people have with impermanence is that, in our culture at least, people have this enormous need for security. This is fed by our fear-based society. We are never secure enough. And we are willing to let the government pass law after law that restrict our freedom in order to give us a false sense of safety. Why a false sense? Because we're never completely safe. Within 5 minutes, your house can be destroyed by a plane crash or an earthquake. And even if that's nearly impossible where you live, you can die because of a heart attack as we speak. What I see happening when I read the comment sections below my own videos and several other MGTOW content creators is that there are men who reject women and having a family because of their impermanent nature. Apparently, they are so afraid of losing it and so afraid that they are unable to control it that they don't want it anymore. They indeed rather buy a doll because the doll doesn't leave them, doesn't cheat on them, doesn't nag, etc. Also, they are terrified of losing their resources, so they look for solutions to protect their resources so their future lives will be safe. Many MGTOW are extremely future-oriented. Many of them walk around with a conceptual future of a paid-off house where they can sit on the porch popping a can of beer, or on the beach somewhere in a paradise far away. I think that's the earthly paradise many MGTOW are hoping for and hoarding resources for and staying away from women as far as possible for. So yes, I think that these men are longing for permanence in an impermanent world. The problem is, in my opinion, is that if your life is too much geared towards security and accumulating wealth for a conceptual future, you'll end up in a golden cage. You're restricting yourself from many potential life experiences. Like I said before, the last 2 years, practically living as a monk, have been great, but I cannot say that I have many great memories to look back on. So is life about accumulating the great memories as opposed to a fearful, almost ascetic life that's based on security, or is there a middle way? The Buddhists come with an argument saying that we should enjoy the ordinary. The joy of life is not to be found in the great highs, but in the ordinary. This means that we shouldn't spend our lives chasing wealth, chasing status, chasing hot women, because if that's what we live for, we'll automatically depreciate the things that are less enjoyable, which means that we'll feel restless 99% of our lives. And the nature of the ordinary is impermanence. In other words, if you cannot embrace impermanence, you cannot love the ordinary, simply because your mind is scheming for ways to somehow preserve what's already past. That's the trap of wanting permanence. What you want is already gone, and what's left is a reflection of the mind. Reflections of the mind are not real. I think that MGTOW could be a great vessel to contentment and appreciating the ordinary, if we would embrace impermanence. The way of going their own way would be completely different. Instead of simply walking away from the things that we don't want because of their impermanence, we learn to appreciate them on a safe distance. In other words, we transform our aversion into a healthy indifference. It's a paradigm shift from desire to resistance to acceptance. Because when you resist, it means that the objects that you resist still have power over you. But if you accept, you go beyond them. Now, Stephen asks if this longing for permanence is combined with living in a time of plenty, creating entitled men. Men who believe they deserve these things. And has this entitlement destroyed our ability to develop resilience? I think our society creates entitled people in general. We are raised to desire permanence, security, and the happily ever after, like we have seen in the Disney movies when we were young. Just look at the entitlement of today's women that think they can have it all. The party life in their 20s, the great job, and when they had their fun, Prince Charming will be waiting around the corner. This doesn't always work out that way, looking at the singles epidemic among millennial women these days. But men have their entitlements too. We see men that feel entitled to have what men used to have before women got empowered. They want the housewife that stays at home and takes care of the kids, makes sandwiches on command, etc. That's why men are so disappointed with women these days, because they don't give them what they think they deserve. It struck me when I heard a story from my sister who, during her travels, got befriended with an Indonesian Muslim girl who said that if she had the opportunity to travel like that, she would never get married. It seems like these opportunities are increasing for women worldwide, especially now the world is, generally, getting safer and safer. They don't need a man by their side anymore to protect them. So honestly, if you were a woman, would you choose to travel the world and do whatever the hell you want with your life if you had a chance? Or would you get married with a guy who basically rules over you and restricts your freedom? I think we clearly see what women choose. Can you blame them? And this doesn't mean that their life choices will make them happy in the long run, nor that they aren't biologically attracted to the dominant male that tells them what to do. But today's world simply invites women to act the way they act. When I'm going out, I see so many good-looking so-called soy boys with smoking hot women, and I think it's because they let these women do what they want. Perhaps they have embraced the fact that it's not their girl, just their turn. They've simply adapted. But I digress. To answer the question, I do think that some men feel entitled to have the things men used to have in the past. But the world has changed. And the world will keep changing, perhaps in their favor. Who knows? What can we do? We can either try to get what we want anyway, or give up the fight. That's completely up to us. So has this entitlement destroyed our ability to develop resilience? It depends on what you mean by resilience. I think what entitlement does in general is that it destroys the ability to adapt. Entitlement is a form of desire. You desire what you're entitled to. It also comes with anger, because if you feel entitled, you believe that you deserve to have certain things, and when you don't get them, you think you are wronged. Entitlement comes with attachment as well. An entitled person is attached to a certain image about how life should be. Hence, entitlement is a path to suffering. Longing for permanence also is a path to suffering. In my humble opinion, going your own way should be about eliminating suffering. I hope this video answers your questions in a way, Steven. Thank you for watching. Keep it solitary. Bye.